Selina Brooks had spent 5 years as an invisible maid at the Grand Grayson estate, polishing their lives, while her own dreams gathered dust, until the day Dominic Grayson heard her playing piano and truly saw her for the first time. When his date cancelled for the prestigious Grayson Foundation ball, he shocked everyone by asking Selina to accompany him, transforming her from servant to the center of high society's scandalized attention. What began as an act of rebellion against his controlling family became something deeper, when Dominic realized Selina was the only person who saw past his wealth to the man beneath. Their love story would challenge everything the Graysons believed about class, worth, and what it truly means to belong. Before we start this story, comment below from where you are watching us. The autumn leaves fell gently around the massive Grayson estate in upstate New York. The property stretched for acres, with perfectly manicured gardens and a mansion that looked like it belonged in a history book. It was the kind of place most people only saw in movies. Selina Brooks wiped the sweat from her brow as she polished the grand piano in the main living room. At 26, she had already spent 5 years working as a live-in maid for the Grayson family. The job paid well enough, and the small apartment above the garage gave her privacy she couldn't afford elsewhere. But some days the weight of invisibility felt heavier than others. "That's enough for today, Selina," Mrs. Grayson said, sweeping into the room in her designer suit. Eleanor Grayson never actually looked at the help when she spoke to them. "Remember, the annual Grayson Foundation Ball is this Saturday. We'll need extra hands, so no days off this week." "Yes, ma'am," Selina replied quietly, gathering her cleaning supplies. She watched Mrs. Grayson leave, then sighed and sat down at the piano. When no one was around, she sometimes played. Music had been her passion once before life took a different turn. Her fingers moved gently over the keys, playing a soft melody her grandmother had taught her. For a brief moment, she wasn't a maid in someone else's home, but just Selina, a woman with dreams of her own. "That's beautiful." The deep voice startled her. Selina jumped up from the bench, nearly knocking over her cleaning caddy. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have," she began, but stopped when she saw who it was. Dominic Grayson stood in the doorway, watching her with curious eyes. Unlike his mother, he actually looked at people when he spoke to them. At 32, he was tall and handsome in a way that made Selina nervous. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and his suit probably cost more than she made in 3 months. "Please, don't stop on my account," he said, walking into the room. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Selina hesitated. The Grayson family rarely spoke to the staff beyond giving orders. "My grandmother taught me. I should get back to work." "Wait," Dominic said. "You're Selina, right? You've worked here for a few years now." 5 years, she corrected, surprised he knew her name at all. Dominic nodded. "I haven't been home much. Building my own company kept me away." Everyone knew about Dominic's success. Unlike his father and brother who inherited their wealth, Dominic had left the family business to start his own tech company. The gossip among the staff was that it had caused a major rift with his father, who saw it as betrayal. "Welcome home, Mr. Grayson," Selina said politely, picking up her cleaning supplies. "Please call me Dominic. Mr. Grayson makes me think my father is in the room." He smiled, and something about it seemed genuine. Before Selina could respond, raised voices came from the study down the hall. Dominic's smile faded. "Some things never change," he muttered, then nodded to Selina before walking toward the argument. Selina didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the voices grew louder as she finished in the living room. "You show up after 2 years and expect to be welcomed with open arms?" That was Richard Grayson, Dominic's father. "I came because Mother asked me to attend the ball," Dominic replied, his voice controlled but tense. "The foundation bears our family name. All of us should be there. As long as you don't use it as an opportunity to poach our investors for your little startup," Richard snapped. "My little startup is worth more than your entire East Coast division, Father." Selina quietly slipped away. The Graysons' family drama wasn't her business, even if Dominic seemed different from the rest of them. The next morning, Selina was arranging fresh flowers in the dining room when Dominic appeared for breakfast. He was alone, which was unusual. The Graysons typically ate together when they were all at the estate. "Good morning, Selina," he said, sitting down at the large table. "Is Mrs. Winters around? I'm starving." "She's preparing your breakfast now," Selina replied, referring to the family cook. "Would you like coffee while you wait?" "Please." As Selina poured his coffee, she noticed a small cut on his hand. "What happened?" she asked before she could stop herself. Dominic glanced at his hand and shrugged. "Had a disagreement with a wall last night. The wall won." Selina bit her lip. She'd heard more shouting after dinner. "There's a first aid kit in the pantry. I could bandage it for you." Dominic studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Thank you." In the kitchen, as Selina carefully cleaned and wrapped his cut, Dominic asked, "Do you enjoy working here, Selina?" The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked her that before. "It's a job," she answered carefully. "The pay is good." "That's not what I asked." Selina secured the bandage and stepped back. "It's not about enjoyment, Mr. Grayson. It's about necessity." "Dominic," he corrected. "And everything should have some element of joy, don't you think? Even work." Before she could answer, Mrs. Grayson entered the kitchen, her eyebrows rising at the sight of them. "Dominic, what are you doing in the kitchen?" she asked, looking between them with suspicion. "Getting patched up, Mother. I had a small accident." Eleanor's eyes narrowed at Selina. "That will be all, Selina. Lisa needs help upstairs." "Yes, Mum," Selina said, quickly putting away the first aid kit and leaving. As she walked upstairs, Selina wondered about Dominic Grayson. He seemed so different from his cold, status-obsessed family. But then again, rich people were experts at appearing charming when it suited them. Over the next few days, Selina noticed Dominic seeking her out in small ways. He'd appear in rooms she was cleaning, asking questions about her life and actually listening to her answers. When she mentioned she'd found his mother's old piano in storage and tuned it herself, he seemed genuinely impressed. "I am full of surprises, Selina Brooks," he said with a smile that made her stomach flutter. She told herself not to be foolish. Men like Dominic Grayson didn't see women like her as anything but staff. Still, there was something in the way he looked at her, like he actually saw her, that made her wonder. 2 days before the ball, Selina was polishing silver in the dining room when she overheard Dominic arguing on the phone. "No, Victoria, you can't just cancel on me the day before." "Yes, I understand your modeling shoot is important. Fine, whatever." He hung up and threw his phone onto the couch. Selina tried to make herself invisible, but Dominic turned and saw her. "Sorry about that," he said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "No need to apologize, sir." Dominic walked over to the window, looking out at the gardens. "My date just cancelled for the ball. Not that I'm surprised. Victoria's never been reliable." Selina continued polishing, unsure what response he expected. "Have you ever attended the Grayson Foundation ball, Selina?" he asked suddenly. She looked up, confused. "No, sir. I work at the ball every year, but I've never attended." Dominic turned to face her, a strange expression crossing his face. "Would you like to?" "I don't understand." "Would you come with me to the ball, as my date?" Selina nearly dropped the silver candlestick she was holding. "That's not funny, Mr. Grayson." "I'm not joking," he said, walking toward her. "And please, it's Dominic." "Why would you ask me that?" she demanded, feeling suddenly defensive. "Is this some kind of bet, or a way to make your ex jealous?" Dominic looked genuinely taken aback. "No, nothing like that." "Then why?" He sighed, sitting down at the dining table. "Honestly, because I'm tired of the fakeness. Everyone at these events is wearing a mask, including me, most of the time." He looked up at her. "But you're real, Selina. No pretense, no games." Selina stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. "Your parents would fire me." "They wouldn't dare," he said with surprising conviction. "Not if they want me to play nice with their investors." "I don't have anything to wear to something like that," she protested. "That can be arranged." Selina put down the silver and crossed her arms. "Why are you really asking me?" "The truth." Dominic stood and walked over to her. "Yesterday I overheard my father's friends talking about how I'm the family disappointment, how I'll show up at the ball with another model airhead who doesn't understand the difference between the stock market and a supermarket." His jaw tightened. "I'm tired of being what they expect. So yes, I want to make a point by bringing someone unexpected. But I'm asking you, because in the week I've been home, you're the only person who's been genuine with me." Selina took a step back, processing his words. Part of her wanted to say yes, but another part felt used. "So I'd be making a statement." "We both would," he admitted. "But it's not just that." They were interrupted by the sound of voices in the hallway. A group of Dominic's old friends had arrived for lunch before a golf game. "Think about it," Dominic said quickly before they entered. "Please?" That evening, Selina was arranging Dominic's shirts in his closet when she overheard him and his friends talking on the terrace below his window. "So who are you bringing to the ball now that Victoria bailed?" one man asked. "I'm working on a replacement," Dominic replied. Another man laughed. $10 says he shows up alone again." "Make it 50, said a third voice. "Poor Dom. All that money and still can't keep a date." Their laughter drifted up, and Selina felt a flash of anger on Dominic's behalf. She couldn't hear his response, but a few minutes later, he appeared in the doorway of his room, looking surprised to find her there. "Just putting away your laundry," she explained, closing the closet door. Dominic nodded, loosening his tie. "About my invitation?" "I heard your friends," Selina said quietly. "Through the window." He winced. "They're not really friends, just people I've known forever." "It doesn't matter," Selina said, gathering her cleaning supplies. "I'll go with you." Dominic looked stunned. "You will?" "With one condition," she said, meeting his eyes directly. "I don't pretend. I don't play rich. If I go as me." A slow smile spread across Dominic's face. "That's exactly what I want." Selina nodded, trying to ignore the butterflies in her stomach. "Then yes, I'll go to the ball with you." As she left his room, Selina wondered if she was making a huge mistake. But there was something about Dominic Grayson that made her want to take the risk. For once in her life, she was tired of being invisible. Little did she know that saying yes would change everything, for both of them. Word spread quickly among the staff that Selina would be attending the Grayson Foundation ball as Dominic's date. Lisa, the other live-in maid, couldn't believe it. "Are you out of your mind?" Lisa asked as they changed sheets in one of the guest rooms. "Mrs. Grayson will fire you on the spot." "Dominic says she won't," Selina replied, though doubt crept into her voice. "Besides, it's just one night. Just one night, that could cost you your job," Lisa warned. "And what are you going to wear? You can't exactly show up in your uniform." That was a problem Selina hadn't fully considered. She had one nice dress she wore to church on Sundays, but nothing suitable for a high society ball. That afternoon, while Selina was dusting the library, Eleanor Grayson cornered her. "I understand my son has asked you to attend the ball," she said, her voice cold. "I want to be clear that this is highly inappropriate." Selina straightened her shoulders. "I'm sorry you feel that way, Mrs. Grayson." Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Don't mistake my son's attention for anything meaningful. Dominic has always had a rebellious streak. Once he's made his point, he'll move on. Men like him don't end up with women like you." The words stung, but Selina kept her expression neutral. "If that's true, then it's just one evening of your life, isn't it?" Eleanor looked shocked at Selina's response. Before she could reply, Dominic appeared in the doorway. "Mother, is there a problem?" he asked, his tone pleasant but his eyes hard. "Just reminding Selina of her duties before the ball," Eleanor said smoothly. "We'll need extra help with setup." "Selina won't be working that day," Dominic said firmly. "She'll be my guest." After Eleanor left, clearly fuming, Dominic turned to Selina. "I'm sorry about that." "She's right, you know," Selina said quietly. "This is inappropriate. I work here, and I have nothing to wear to something like this." Dominic checked his watch. "Do you trust me?" "I barely know you," she pointed out. He laughed. "Fair enough. But I'd like to solve at least one of those problems. Take the rest of the day off. I'll pick you up at 2. Before Selina could argue, he was gone, leaving her wondering what she had gotten herself into. At precisely 2 o'clock, Dominic knocked on the door of Selina's small apartment above the garage. When she opened it, he was standing there in casual clothes, jeans and a button-down shirt, looking far more approachable than in his usual suits. "Ready?" he asked. "For what exactly?" He grinned. "Shopping." Selina shook her head. "I'm not letting you buy me clothes." "Consider it a rental," he suggested. "For one night only." She hesitated, then grabbed her purse. "I'll pay you back. We'll discuss terms later," he said, leading her to his car. Not the flashy sports car she'd seen him driving, but a more understated sedan. They drove into the city, and Selina expected to be taken to some high-end boutique. Instead, Dominic parked outside a vintage clothing store. "My friend Mia owns this place," he explained. "She has an amazing eye." Inside, they were greeted by a stylish woman with bright red hair. "Dom, it's been ages." She hugged him warmly, then turned curious eyes to Selina. "Mia, this is Selina. She needs something spectacular for the Grayson Foundation ball." Mia's eyebrows shot up. "The ball? Well, this is interesting." She circled Selina, studying her. "You have amazing bone structure. And those eyes, we can definitely work with this." For the next hour, Selina tried on dresses while Dominic waited patiently, offering opinions when asked, but mostly letting Mia work her magic. Finally, Selina emerged in a deep blue gown that was simple but elegant. It hugged her curves before flowing gracefully to the floor. "That's the one," Dominic said softly, his eyes never leaving her. Mia clapped her hands. "Absolutely perfect. Now, for shoes and accessories." When they were finished, Selina hardly recognized herself in the mirror. The dress made her feel beautiful in a way she never had before. "I can't accept all this," she whispered to Dominic as Mia wrapped everything up. Think of it as a business expense, he replied with a wink. Making my mother uncomfortable doesn't come cheap. Selina laughed despite herself. Is that all this is, making your mother uncomfortable? Something in Dominic's expression changed. No, he said quietly. That's not all it is. Before she could ask what he meant, Mia returned with their packages and the moment was gone. The day of the ball arrived, and the Grayson estate was buzzing with activity. Florists, caterers, and event staff transformed the grand ballroom into a glittering wonderland. Selina felt strange not helping with the preparations, but Dominic had been insistent. As evening approached, she began getting ready in her small apartment, doing her own hair and makeup. The blue dress fit perfectly, but the shoes Mia had chosen were half a size too small. Selina winced as she slipped them on. Beauty had its price. At 7 o'clock, there was a knock at her door. Dominic stood there in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. For a moment, he simply stared at her. You look, he began, then seemed to lose his words. Selina felt suddenly self-conscious. Is something wrong? No, he said quickly. You look beautiful, really beautiful. She blushed, unused to such compliments. Thank you. He offered her his arm. Ready to cause a scandal? Despite her nerves, Selina smiled. As ready as I'll ever be. They walked together toward the main house, where luxury cars were already pulling up and dropping off guests. Several people did double takes when they recognized Dominic with Selina on his arm. At the entrance to the ballroom, Dominic paused. Once we go in, people will talk. They can be cruel. I'm tougher than I look, Selina assured him, though her heart was racing. I know you are, he said, squeezing her hand. That's one of the things I admire about you. They stepped into the ballroom together, and just as Dominic predicted, a hush fell over the crowd. Hundreds of eyes turned to stare at them, or more specifically, at Selina. Eleanor Grayson, who had been greeting guests, froze mid-conversation. Richard Grayson nearly choked on his champagne. And Dominic's brother James openly snickered. Is that the maid? Someone whispered, loud enough to be heard. He's lost it, another voice muttered. Selina felt her cheeks burning, but then Dominic's hand was at the small of her back, steady and reassuring. She lifted her chin, smiled softly, and walked in like she belonged. And strangely, something in the room changed. Perhaps it was her quiet confidence, or the way the blue dress caught the light, or how she didn't cower under their stares. Whatever it was, the initial shock began to give way to curious murmurs. Dominic led her to the bar and ordered them both drinks. You're doing great, he said quietly. Your mother looks like she might faint, Selina observed, accepting a glass of champagne. She'll survive, he replied with a grin. My father, on the other hand, might have a stroke. Richard Grayson was indeed glaring at them from across the room, his face flushed with anger. I should go say hello to him, Dominic said. Will you be okay for a minute? Selina nodded, though as soon as Dominic walked away, she felt exposed. She sipped her champagne, trying to look comfortable standing alone. Well, said a voice behind her. You clean up nicely. Selina turned to find James Grayson, Dominic's younger brother, looking her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. Thank you, Mr. Grayson, she said politely. James, please, he said, moving closer. After all, you're practically family now, aren't you? At least until my brother gets bored. Selina forced a smile. I should find Dominic. James caught her arm. He's probably going to be a while. Father looked ready to explode. In the meantime, why don't you tell me how you managed to catch my brother's eye? Must be some special talents. You have. Let go of me, Selina said firmly, pulling her arm free. Everything okay here? A tall woman with short blonde hair appeared beside them, her expression concerned. Just getting to know my brother's date, James said smoothly. Selina, this is Rebecca Harris, an old family friend. Rebecca gave Selina a genuine smile. It's lovely to meet you. I've known the Grayson boys since we were children, and I have to say, Dominic looks happier tonight than I've seen him in years. James rolled his eyes and wandered off, leaving Selina grateful for the rescue. Thank you, she said to Rebecca. Don't mention it. James has always been a jerk, Rebecca replied with a laugh. So, how did you and Dominic meet? Before Selina could answer, she was interrupted by a woman in a stunning red dress who practically shoved her way between them. Rebecca, darling, it's been ages, the woman exclaimed, air-kissing Rebecca's cheeks before turning cool eyes to Selina. And you are? Selina Brooks, she answered, noting how the woman's eyes widened slightly in recognition. Ah, so this is the maid, the woman said with a smirk. I'm Vanessa Mitchell, Dominic and I dated for a while last year. Nice to meet you, Selina said, though it clearly wasn't. Vanessa's smile was predatory. So this is what Dominic's reduced to. Must be nice having someone clean up after you and warm your bed. Rebecca gasped. Vanessa. But Selina was done being polite. She turned poised and calm and looked Vanessa directly in the eye. Funny. I haven't cleaned anything tonight, but I see the mess still showed up. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Rebecca burst out laughing. Several people nearby who had overheard also chuckled, and Vanessa's face turned almost as red as her dress. How dare you, she sputtered. Do you know who I am? Someone who's about to walk away, came Dominic's voice as he rejoined them. He slipped his arm around Selina's waist and smiled coldly at Vanessa. Unless you'd prefer I tell everyone about the real reason we broke up. Vanessa glared at him, then at Selina, before storming off into the crowd. What was the real reason? Selina couldn't help asking. Dominic laughed. I caught her going through my emails looking for insider trading tips for her father. Rebecca excused herself, leaving Dominic and Selina alone for a moment. I'm sorry about that, he said. And about my brother. You saw that? Enough of it, he admitted. Are you okay? Selina nodded. I can handle myself. I noticed, he said with admiration. That comeback to Vanessa was perfect. She smiled, feeling a strange mix of pride and embarrassment. I probably shouldn't have said that. Are you kidding? It was the highlight of my night. His expression grew more serious. You're amazing, Selina. You know that, right? Before she could respond, the music changed to a slow dance, and Dominic held out his hand. Dance with me? Selina hesitated. I'm not very good at ballroom dancing. Neither am I, he admitted. But we can figure it out together. She took his hand and let him lead her to the dance floor. Other couples moved aside, watching curiously as Dominic pulled her close. Up on the bandstand, the singer began a romantic ballad. Everyone staring, Selina whispered. Let them, Dominic replied, his eyes only on her. You're the only one worth looking at anyway. As they moved together, Selina felt something shift between them. This was no longer just about making a statement or shocking his family. There was something real happening, something unexpected and a little frightening. From across the room, Eleanor Grayson watched them with narrowed eyes, whispering urgently to her husband. Richard nodded grimly, then approached a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. That's Charles Bennett, Dominic told Selina, nodding toward the man speaking with his father. One of our biggest investors, and my father's closest friend. Your father doesn't look happy, Selina observed. Dominic's jaw tightened. He never is, but especially not with me. As the song ended, Dominic was pulled away by a group of business associates, leaving Selina alone again. She made her way to a quiet corner, grateful for a moment to catch her breath. Her feet were killing her in the too small shoes. Miss Brooks? A server approached with a note. Mrs. Grayson asked me to give you this. Selina opened it, her stomach sinking as she read, Please meet me in the library immediately. It concerns your continued employment. Eleanor Grayson. She knew she should find Dominic first, but he was surrounded by people. And despite his assurances, this was still her job at stake, a job she couldn't afford to lose. Taking a deep breath, Selina slipped out of the ballroom and made her way to the library. The rest of the house was quiet, most of the staff focused on the event in the ballroom. When she entered the library, Eleanor was there with Richard and Charles Bennett. Ah, Selina, Eleanor said, her voice falsely pleasant. Thank you for coming. You wanted to see me, Mrs. Grayson. Selina kept her voice steady. Yes, Mr. Bennett here was just telling us how impressed he was with you, Eleanor said, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. Charles Bennett studied Selina with interest. Indeed, it's not often we see someone of your background at these events. Charles was curious about your relationship with my son, Richard added, his tone making it clear this wasn't a friendly chat. Selina lifted her chin. I'm not sure that's any of your business, sir. Richard's face darkened. Everything that affects the Grayson name is my business. My son may think bringing you here makes some kind of statement, but all it does is embarrass this family. Richard, Eleanor cautioned, glancing at Bennett. No, let's be direct, Richard continued. Miss Brooks, what exactly are your intentions toward my son? My intentions? Selina repeated, incredulous. Yes. Are you after his money, his name, or is this some misguided attempt to improve your station? Selina felt anger rising within her. I'm here because Dominic asked me to come. Nothing more. Charles Bennett cleared his throat. Perhaps I should give you privacy for this family matter. No need, came Dominic's voice from the doorway. He looked furious. The family matter is returning to the ball. All of us. Richard turned to his son. We're just having a conversation with your friend. It looked like an interrogation to me, Dominic said coldly. And it ends now. Dominic, be reasonable, Eleanor pleaded. You've made your point. Everyone's talking about how you brought the maid to the ball. Isn't that what you wanted? Dominic's expression hardened. Is that what you think this is? Some childish rebellion? What else could it be? Richard demanded. Dominic walked over to stand beside Selina. She came with me, he said aloud, voice firm. And she's leaving with me. Not because she's anyone's joke, but because she's the only real person in this room. Charles Bennet looked between them all, then smiled slightly. Well, I think that settles it. Richard, Eleanor, shall we return to your guests? I'm sure they're wondering where their hosts have gone. Reluctantly, Richard and Eleanor followed Bennet out of the library, leaving Dominic and Selina alone. How did you know I was here? She asked. I saw you leave with that note. I figured my mother was up to something. He took her hands in his. I'm so sorry about that. Your parents are right, you know, Selina said quietly. This isn't going to work. We're from different worlds. Do you really believe that? Dominic asked, stepping closer. Or are you just scared? Both, she admitted. This was supposed to be one night. A statement. Nothing more. What if I want it to be more? His voice was low, intense. Selina looked up at him, searching his face for any sign that this was still just a game. But all she saw was sincerity, and something else that made her heart race. You don't even know me, she whispered. I know enough, he replied. I know you're kind and talented and stronger than anyone gives you credit for. I know you see through the fakeness of my world, and I know that when I'm with you, I feel like myself for the first time in years. Before Selina could respond, the library door burst open again. It was James, clearly drunk and angry. There you are, he slurred. Father's furious. Said you're making a mockery of the family name with your charity case. He gestured crudely at Selina. Dominic's hands clenched into fists. Get out, James. Or what? You'll hit me. James laughed. Go ahead. Show your little girlfriend what the Graysons are really like when they don't get their way. Selina could see Dominic struggling to control his temper. She touched his arm gently. He's not worth it, James sneered. Listen to her, Dom. At least the help knows her place. Something snapped in Dominic's eyes. He lunged forward, grabbing James by the collar and shoving him against a bookshelf. Don't you ever talk about her like that again. Do you understand me? Dominic, stop, Selina cried, pulling at his arm. Please. The genuine fear in her voice seemed to break through his anger. Dominic released James, who stumbled and nearly fell. You're pathetic, James spat, straightening his jacket. Both of you. After he staggered out, Selina stepped back from Dominic, shaken by the violence she'd just witnessed. I should go, she said quietly. Selina, wait. No, I need some air. I need to think. She backed toward the door. This was a mistake. All of it. It wasn't, Dominic insisted, following her. Please, don't let them ruin this. But Selina was already hurrying down the hall, her too tight shoes forgotten, as she fled from the confusion of feelings overwhelming her. She made it to a side door and stepped out onto a terrace, the cool night air a relief after the tension in the library. She slipped off her painful shoes, sighing as her bare feet touched the cool stone. Above her, stars filled the clear night sky, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. After a few minutes, she heard footsteps. Dominic had followed her, his tie loosened, jacket gone. You know they'll talk, she said without turning around. Let them, he replied, moving to stand beside her. I've built a whole life surrounded by people I can't trust. You're the first person who ever showed up without a mask. Selina finally looked at him. What do you want from me, Dominic? Really? He held out a small envelope. Open it. Confused, she took it and pulled out what appeared to be a hand-drawn sketch of a home. Not a mansion like the Grayson estate, but something simpler, welcoming. What is this? She asked. Something I've been working on, he said softly. I want to build something real, with you. Not because I'm lonely, but because tonight I saw what life could look like when you walked in. Selina stared at him, silent, her heart pounding. Everything was happening too fast, too intensely. Part of her wanted to believe him, to trust the connection she felt, but another part remembered Eleanor's words. Men like him don't end up with women like you, and she didn't say yes. She simply leaned in, her lips meeting his in a kiss that answered all the questions words couldn't. For one perfect moment, the world outside disappeared. The ball, his family, the differences between them. There was only this connection, unexpected and powerful. When they finally pulled apart, Dominic looked at her with wonder. "Does this mean you'll give us a chance?" Before Selina could answer, a commotion from inside caught their attention. Raised voices, then a crash. "What now?" Dominic muttered. They hurried back inside to find guests gathered around someone on the floor. As they pushed through the crowd, Selina gasped. Richard Grayson lay unconscious, Eleanor kneeling beside him, her face pale with shock. "Someone call an ambulance," she cried. "My husband's had a heart attack." Chaos erupted at the Grayson estate. Guests were ushered out as paramedics rushed in. Richard Grayson was loaded onto a stretcher, an oxygen mask covering his face. Eleanor climbed into the ambulance beside her husband, her usual composure shattered. "I'll follow in my car," Dominic told his mother, who barely acknowledged him. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens blaring, Dominic turned to Selina. "I need to go to the hospital." "Of course," she said. "You should be with your family." "Come with me," he said, taking her hand. Selina hesitated. "I don't think that's a good idea. Your mother already blames me for upsetting your father." "This isn't your fault," Dominic insisted. "My father has been working himself to death for years. The doctors have been warning him about his heart." James stumbled over to them, still drunk but sobered by the emergency. "Way to go, Dom. Father finally had enough of your rebellion." "Not now, James," Dominic snapped. He turned back to Selina. "Please come, I don't want to be alone with them." She couldn't say no to the pain in his eyes. "All right." The drive to the hospital was tense and silent. When they arrived, Eleanor was pacing in the waiting room while doctors worked on Richard. "What are you doing here?" she demanded when she saw Selina. "Mother, don't," Dominic warned. "Your father is fighting for his life because of the scene you two caused," Eleanor hissed. "Have you no shame?" Selina stepped back. "I should go." "Yes, you should," Eleanor agreed coldly. Dominic looked torn. "Selina, it's okay," she assured him. "Your place is here with your family. I understand." Before he could argue, a doctor appeared. "Mrs. Grayson, your husband is stabilized. He's had a mild heart attack, but we caught it in time." Eleanor sagged with relief. "Can I see him?" "Briefly. He needs rest." As Eleanor followed the doctor, Dominic pulled Selina aside. "I'll drive you home." "No, stay with your father. I can call a taxi." He frowned. "I don't want to leave things like this." "We can talk tomorrow," she promised, "when things are calmer." Reluctantly, Dominic agreed. He watched her leave, feeling as though something precious was slipping away. The Grayson estate was quiet when Selina returned. Most of the staff had gone to bed after cleaning up from the abruptly ended ball. In her apartment, Selina carefully hung up the blue dress, knowing she would probably never wear it again. She barely slept that night, replaying everything that had happened. The ball, the confrontations, the kiss, and then Richard's collapse. It felt like a sign that she and Dominic weren't meant to be. Early the next morning, there was a knock at her door. It was Lisa, looking concerned. "Have you heard? Mr. Grayson had a heart attack last night. They're saying he'll be okay, but Mrs. Grayson is on the warpath." Selina's stomach knotted. "What do you mean?" "She's been on the phone all morning. I overheard her talking to Mr. Peterson from the agency that placed you here. She wants you gone." Selina closed her eyes briefly. "I'm not surprised." "What happened at that ball?" Lisa asked. "Everyone's talking about how you showed up on Dominic's arm looking like a movie star. Then Mr. Grayson collapsed." "It's complicated," Selina said, not wanting to get into details. Lisa squeezed her arm. "Well, if you need anything, I'm here." After Lisa left, Selina began packing her few belongings. She knew Eleanor would find a way to fire her, and it would be better to leave on her own terms. A text message from Dominic lit up her phone. "Father is stable. Coming home soon, we need to talk." She didn't reply. What was there to say? Last night had been magical, but in the harsh light of day, reality was setting in. His father was in the hospital, partly due to the stress they had caused. His mother was actively trying to get rid of her. And despite what Dominic said about wanting something real with her, Selina couldn't shake the feeling that she was just a temporary fascination for him. By mid-morning, she had her bags packed. She would go stay with her cousin in the city until she found another job. As she carried her suitcase down the stairs from her apartment, she nearly collided with Eleanor Grayson. "Going somewhere?" Eleanor asked, eyeing the luggage. "I think it's best if I leave," Selina replied calmly. A flicker of surprise crossed Eleanor's face, quickly replaced by satisfaction. "Yes, I believe that would be for the best. I'll have your final paycheck sent to you." "Thank you," Selina said, refusing to show weakness. "I hope Mr. Grayson recovers quickly." Eleanor's expression hardened. Let me be clear, Miss Brooks. Whatever you think might happen between you and my son is a fantasy. Dominic may be going through a rebellious phase, but he will come to his senses. Men like him don't marry their maids. The words stung, but Selina kept her composure. I never expected him to, Mrs. Grayson. She tried to move past, but Eleanor stopped her. Wait, before you go, I want to make you an offer. Selina frowned. What kind of offer? $10,000, Eleanor said, her voice businesslike. Cash, in exchange for your discretion and a promise to stay away from my son. Selina stared at her in disbelief. You're trying to buy me off. I'm being practical, Eleanor replied. You need money. I need this distraction to end before it damages my family further. Keep your money, Mrs. Grayson, Selina said, her voice shaking with anger. I don't need to be paid to stay away from Dominic. I'm leaving because it's the right thing to do. Eleanor looked genuinely confused, as if she couldn't comprehend someone turning down money. Before she could respond, a car pulled up outside. Dominic had returned from the hospital. Think about my offer, Eleanor said quickly. It remains open. She hurried away as Dominic entered. He stopped short when he saw Selina with her suitcase. What's going on? He asked. I'm leaving, she said simply. His face fell. Because of last night? Selina, I told you none of that was your fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it was, she replied. Your father is in the hospital. Your mother hates me. And let's be honest, whatever this is between us and it can't work. Why not? He demanded, moving closer. Because of what people will say. Because of our different backgrounds. Because your family will never accept me, Selina said. And I won't come between you and them. Dominic ran a hand through his hair in frustration. My family is complicated, but they don't get to decide who I care about. Your mother just offered me money to stay away from you, Selina told him. His expression darkened. She did what? It doesn't matter. I was already leaving. It matters to me, he insisted, and I don't want you to go. The sincerity in his voice made her hesitate. Dominic, what happened between us? It was one night, a fantasy. It wasn't a fantasy for me, he said softly. Was it for you? Before she could answer, James appeared. There you are. Mother needs you at the hospital. Father's asking for you. Dominic didn't move. Tell her I'll be there soon. Now, Dom, James insisted. He's agitated, and the doctors are worried about his heart rate. Selina made the decision for him. Go. Your father needs you. Dominic looked torn. Promise me you won't leave until we talk, really talk. I can't promise that, she said honestly. Then I'm not going anywhere, he declared. James threw up his hands. Unbelievable. Father could be dying, and you're here with the maid. Her name is Selina, Dominic snapped, and I'm tired of everyone in this family treating her like she's invisible. Selina touched his arm. Please, Dominic, go see your father. We can talk when you get back. After a long moment, he nodded. I'll hold you to that. After both men left, Selina sat down on her suitcase, conflicted. Part of her wanted to just leave, to escape the drama and pain. But she had promised Dominic they would talk. And despite everything, she couldn't bring herself to break that promise. At the hospital, Richard Grayson was propped up in bed, looking pale but alert. When Dominic entered the room, Eleanor and James were already there. There he is, Richard said weakly. The son who nearly killed me. Richard, Eleanor cautioned, glancing at the heart monitor. Dominic approached the bed. How are you feeling, Father? Like someone dropped a piano on my chest, Richard replied. The doctors say I need to reduce stress. Ironic, considering what you pulled last night. I didn't mean to upset you, Dominic said. Richard waved a hand dismissively. You never mean to, and yet you always do. That stunt with the maid. Her name is Selina, Dominic interrupted. And it wasn't a stunt. Eleanor stepped in quickly. This isn't the time, Dominic. Your father needs rest. No, Richard said, his voice stronger. We need to settle this now. I've worked too hard building this family's legacy to watch you throw it away on some infatuation. Dominic's jaw tightened. Is that all you care about? The family legacy? It should matter to you too, Richard countered. Everything I've done, everything has been to secure our family's future. Your future. I never asked for that, Dominic said, and I've built my own future, my own company, without your help. Richard's monitor beeped as his heart rate increased. And you think that gives you the right to embarrass us? To parade around with the help like some kind of statement? That's not what this is about, Dominic insisted. Then what is it? Richard demanded. Love? Don't be naive. She sees dollar signs when she looks at you, nothing more. Dominic's hands clenched into fists. You don't know her. And you do? After what? A week? I know she's the most genuine person I've ever met, Dominic said firmly. I know she sees me, not my money or my name, and I know she walked away from $10,000 your mother offered her to stay away from me. Eleanor gasped. You told him? Richard looked at his wife in surprise. You did what? I was protecting our family, Eleanor defended herself, by trying to bribe Selina. Dominic shook his head in disgust. And for the record, she turned it down. Not that any of you would understand why. The monitor beeped faster, and a nurse hurried in. I'm going to have to ask you all to leave. Mr. Grayson needs to stay calm. In the hallway, Eleanor rounded on Dominic. Are you trying to give your father another heart attack? I'm trying to make him see that I'm not a child anymore, Dominic replied. I make my own choices, and right now I choose Selina. This isn't just about you, James cut in. Father built Grayson Industries from nothing. He has business associates, investors, who expect certain standards. What do you think they'll say when they hear you're involved with the Maid? I don't care what they say, Dominic stated. Well, you should, Eleanor said, because those connections are what keep this family at the top. If you truly care about this girl, you'll realize the damage you're doing to her reputation as well as ours. That gave Dominic pause. What do you mean? People are already talking, Eleanor said, saying terrible things about her. That she's a gold digger, that she seduced you to improve her position. Is that what you want for her? To be the subject of cruel gossip for the rest of her life? Dominic hadn't considered that. The last thing he wanted was for Selina to be hurt because of him. I need to get back to her, he said finally. We'll talk about this later. As he walked away, Eleanor called after him. She's probably already gone, Dominic. Some people know when they don't belong. Back at the estate, Selina had moved her suitcase to the front entrance. She'd decided to leave after all. Staying would only make things more complicated, more painful. She was saying goodbye to Mrs. Winters, the cook, when Dominic's car pulled up. Her heart sank. She'd hoped to be gone before he returned. You're still leaving, he said, seeing her suitcase. It's for the best, she replied. Can we talk? Privately. She nodded reluctantly, following him to the garden behind the house. It was quiet there, peaceful. How's your father? She asked. Stable. Angry. The usual. He sat on a stone bench and motioned for her to join him. Selina, I've been thinking about what my mother said to you. The bribe? She asked, sitting beside him but keeping her distance. Yes, and about how people are talking. He looked troubled. I never considered how this might affect you. I can handle gossip, she said, though in truth the whispers and stares at the ball had hurt more than she wanted to admit. But you shouldn't have to, Dominic said. Not because of me. A chill ran through her. What are you saying? He took a deep breath. Maybe my mother is right. Maybe this is too complicated right now. The words hit Selina like a physical blow. I see. No, you don't, he said quickly. I'm not saying I don't want to be with you. I'm saying maybe we need to take a step back, figure things out. My father is sick, my family is in crisis, and I'm in the way, Selina finished for him. That's not what I meant, Dominic protested. It's okay, she said, standing up. I understand. Family comes first. He stood too, reaching for her hand. Selina, please, don't make this into something it's not. What is it then? She asked. Because it sounds like you're choosing them over us. I'm trying to protect you, he insisted. Selina pulled her hand away. I never asked for your protection. I asked for your honesty. I am being honest, Dominic said, frustration evident in his voice. This is complicated. My father just had a heart attack. My mother is on a crusade against us. The timing is all wrong. The timing will always be wrong, Selina said quietly. Because the truth is, your mother is right. Men like you don't end up with women like me. That's not true, he argued. Then why are you letting me walk away? Dominic had no answer for that. He watched helplessly as Selina turned and walked back toward the house. Selina, wait! She kept walking, tears threatening to fall. She wouldn't cry. Not here. Not where he could see. Inside, Eleanor had returned from the hospital. She saw Selina's suitcase and smiled thinly. I see you've made the right decision, she said. Not because of you, Selina replied coldly. Eleanor shrugged. The reason doesn't matter. Only the result. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Your final paycheck, and a little extra for your discretion. Selina left the envelope on the table. Keep it. I don't want anything from you. She grabbed her suitcase and headed for the door, nearly colliding with Rebecca Harris, who was just arriving. Selina, I was hoping to catch you, Rebecca said warmly. I wanted to apologize for Vanessa's behavior last night. She was completely out of line. It doesn't matter now, Selina said. I'm leaving. Rebecca looked surprised. Leaving? But I thought you and Dominic— There is no me and Dominic, Selina said firmly. Excuse me. She pushed past Rebecca and out the door, where a taxi was waiting to take her to her cousin's apartment in the city. As the taxi pulled away, she finally let the tears fall. She had been foolish to think, even for a moment, that someone like Dominic Grayson could truly want someone like her. Rebecca found Dominic still in the garden, looking lost. What happened? She asked. I just saw Selina leaving with her suitcase. Dominic ran a hand over his face. I messed up, Becca. I let her go. Why would you do that? Rebecca demanded. It's obvious you care about her. It's complicated, he said, echoing his earlier words to Selina. Rebecca crossed her arms. That's a cop-out and you know it. I saw the way you looked at her last night. I haven't seen you that happy in years. My father just had a heart attack, Dominic reminded her. My family is falling apart. And that's exactly when you need someone real in your life, Rebecca countered. Not someone who fits your family's idea of suitable, Dominic sighed. My mother convinced me that being with me would only hurt Selina, that people would talk, spread rumors. People always talk, Rebecca said dismissively. That's what they do. The question is, are you going to let gossip stand in the way of something real? It's too late, Dominic said. She's gone. Rebecca rolled her eyes. Men can be so dense. It's not too late unless you let it be. She pulled out her phone. Where did she go? Her cousin's place in the city, I think, but I don't have the address. Rebecca typed something into her phone. I know someone who works at the agency that placed her here. Give me an hour. Dominic felt a flicker of hope. What are you going to do? Help you fix this, Rebecca said. But first you need to decide what you really want, your family's approval or a chance at actual happiness. Selina's cousin Mia lived in a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood of the city. It was cramped but welcoming, and Mia didn't ask too many questions when Selina showed up with her suitcase and red-rimmed eyes. Stay as long as you need, Mia said, hugging her. The sofa pulls out. That night, as Selina lay awake on the uncomfortable sofa bed, her phone lit up with a text from Dominic. I'm sorry. Can we talk? She turned the phone face down without replying. What was there to say? He had made his choice. The next morning, Mia left for her shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, and Selina began searching online for job listings. She had good references from previous employers, but finding another live-in position would take time. A knock at the door interrupted her job search. When she opened it, she was shocked to find Dominic standing there, looking as though he hadn't slept. How did you find me? She asked. Rebecca, he admitted. She has connections. Selina started to close the door, but Dominic put his hand out to stop it. Please, just hear me out, he pleaded. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Against her better judgment, Selina let him in. The small apartment made his tall frame seem even larger, out of place among Mia's second-hand furniture. Nice place, he said awkwardly. What do you want, Dominic? Selina asked, too tired for small talk. He took a deep breath. I was wrong yesterday. About everything. You seemed pretty certain then, she replied. I was confused, he admitted. Worried about my father, pressured by my mother, but that's no excuse. I shouldn't have let you leave. Selina crossed her arms. Why are you here now? Because I can't stop thinking about you, he said simply. Because the thought of never seeing you again is unbearable. Because when I'm with you, I'm the person I want to be, not the person everyone expects me to be. What about your family? She asked. Your father's health, all those complications you mentioned. They're still there, Dominic acknowledged. But I realized something after you left. Life is always going to be complicated. The question is who you want beside you while you figure it all out. He moved closer, his eyes never leaving hers. I want it to be you, Selina, if you'll give me another chance. Her heart raced at his words, but doubt still lingered. How do I know you won't change your mind again the next time your mother pressures you? Because I told her the truth this morning, he said, that I'm in love with you, that if she makes me choose between the family and you, she might not like my choice. Selina's breath caught. You said that to her? He nodded. She didn't take it well, neither did my father when I told him at the hospital, but for the first time in my life, I stood my ground with them. Because of you. Dominic, I know it's fast, he said quickly. I know we've only really known each other for a short time, but sometimes you just know when something is right. And this, us, feels right to me. Selina wanted to believe him, wanted it more than she'd ever wanted anything, but fear held her back. What about all those people at the ball, she asked. The ones who whispered about me, called me the Maid. They don't matter, Dominic insisted. Only we do. It's not that simple, she said. Those are your people, your world. I don't belong there. Then we'll create our own world, he said, taking her hands in his. Remember that sketch I showed you? The house? I meant what I said. I want to build something real with you, Selina. Something that's ours, not my family's. She looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of doubt. Are you sure? Really sure? Because I can't go through this again. In answer, Dominic pulled her into his arms and kissed her, a kiss filled with promise and certainty. When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. For the first time since leaving the Grayson estate, Selina smiled. Okay, he repeated, hope lighting his eyes. I'll give us a chance, she clarified, but I'm not coming back to work at the estate. I wouldn't expect you to, Dominic assured her. In fact, I have a better idea. He led her to the sofa, and they sat down together. I've been thinking about this all night. My tech company is opening a new community center in the city, offering free music and art classes to kids who can't afford them. We need someone to run the music program. Selina's eyes widened. Me? But I'm not qualified. I've never taught professionally. You have a gift, Selina. I heard you play. And more importantly, you have heart. That's what these kids need. The offer was tempting, a chance to return to music, to share her grandmother's legacy with others. I don't know. Just think about it, Dominic said. No pressure. Whatever you decide, we'll figure it out together. Selina nodded, overwhelmed by the possibilities suddenly opening before her. What about your father? His heart? He's stable, Dominic said. The doctors say he'll make a full recovery if he follows their instructions, reduces stress, changes his diet. And your mother? Dominic's expression turned serious. She'll come around eventually, or she won't. Either way, it's her choice. I've made mine. Selina leaned against him, allowing herself to hope for the first time that maybe, just maybe, this could work. There's something else, Dominic said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small box. Selina's heart nearly stopped. Dominic, if that's what I think it is, it's way too soon. He laughed. It's not a ring. Not yet, anyway. Open it. Inside was a delicate silver key. What's this? She asked. A key to my apartment in the city, he explained. I'm not asking you to move in. I just want you to know you're welcome there. Anytime. It's a place where we can be together, away from my family while we figure out what comes next. Touched by the gesture, Selina closed her hand around the key. Thank you. As Dominic pulled her close, she allowed herself to believe that perhaps Eleanor had been wrong. Maybe men like him did end up with women like her. Maybe the story didn't always end the way people expected. Their quiet moment was interrupted by Dominic's phone ringing. He checked it and frowned. It's the hospital, he said, answering quickly. Hello, yes, this is Dominic Grayson. What, when? I'll be right there. He hung up, his face pale. What is it? Selina asked, alarmed. My father, Dominic said, standing up. He's had another heart attack, a major one this time. Go, Selina said immediately. I'll come with you. Dominic looked uncertain. Are you sure? After everything with my mother? I'm sure, she said firmly. You shouldn't be alone. As they rushed to the hospital, Selina pushed aside her fears and doubts. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The hospital waiting room was tense when they arrived. Eleanor was pacing, her normally perfect appearance disheveled. James sat slumped in a chair, looking lost. Eleanor's eyes narrowed when she saw Selina. What is she doing here? She's with me, Dominic said firmly. How's father? In surgery, Eleanor replied, her voice breaking slightly. It's not good, Dominic. Despite everything, Selina felt a pang of sympathy for the older woman. Is there anything I can do? Coffee, perhaps? Eleanor looked surprised by the offer, then shook her head. No, thank you. Dominic squeezed Selina's hand gratefully before going to speak with the doctors. Left alone with Eleanor and James, Selina took a seat across from them, prepared for more hostility. To her surprise, James spoke first. I'm sorry about last night. The things I said. I was drunk, but that's no excuse. It's okay, Selina said, though it wasn't really. No, it's not, James admitted. I've been a jerk. To you, to Dom, to everyone, really. Eleanor said nothing, her gaze fixed on the doors where the doctors would eventually emerge with news of her husband. After what seemed like hours, a surgeon appeared, still in his scrubs. They all stood, tension thick in the air. Mrs. Grayson, the surgeon began, his expression grave. Your husband's condition is critical. We've managed to stabilize him for now, but the damage to his heart is extensive. Will he recover? Eleanor asked, her voice small. The surgeon hesitated. "The next 24 hours are crucial. If he makes it through the night, his chances improve." As the surgeon explained the details of Richard's condition, Selina watched the Grayson family absorb the news. Despite their wealth and power, in this moment they were just like any family facing the potential loss of a loved one. Vulnerable, afraid, human. When the doctor left, Dominic put his arm around his mother, who for once didn't pull away. "He's strong," Dominic assured her. "He'll fight." Eleanor nodded, then surprised everyone by addressing Selina directly. "You should go home. This could be a long night." Before Selina could respond, Dominic said, "If she goes, I go." Eleanor sighed, too exhausted for another argument. "Fine. Stay if you want." As the night wore on, they took turns visiting Richard in the ICU. When it was Eleanor's turn, Dominic and Selina found themselves alone in a quiet corner of the waiting room. "Thank you for being here," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Of course," she replied. "That's what you do when you care about someone." He took her hand, studying it as though memorizing every detail. "If something happens to my father, everything will change. The company, the family dynamic. One day at a time," Selina advised gently. "That's all any of us can do." Eleanor returned, looking drained. "He's asking for you, Dominic." As Dominic went to see his father, Eleanor unexpectedly sat down beside Selina. "I don't understand it," she said after a long silence. "What my son sees in you." Selina tensed, prepared for another attack, but Eleanor continued in a tired voice. "You turned down my money. Most people wouldn't have." "I'm not most people," Selina replied. Eleanor studied her with new interest. "No, I suppose you're not." She sighed heavily. "Richard and we've spent our lives building something for our sons, something that would last, but Dominic never seemed to want it. Maybe he wants to build something of his own," Selina suggested. "With you?" Eleanor asked, but the usual venom was missing from her voice. "That's for him to decide," Selina said. "But if he does, I won't stand in his way. I care about him too much for that." Eleanor looked surprised, then thoughtful. Before she could respond, Dominic returned, his expression unreadable. "How is he?" Eleanor asked anxiously. "Awake, talking. He wants to see you both," Dominic said, looking at his mother and brother. As they hurried to Richard's room, Dominic turned to Selina. "He asked about you too." "Me?" Selina was shocked. "Why?" "I'm not sure," Dominic admitted, "but he was very specific. He wants to see all of us. Together." Selina followed Dominic to the ICU, anxiety building with each step. What could Richard Grayson possibly want with her? In the hospital room, Richard looked small and pale against the white sheets, monitors beeping steadily around him. His eyes were closed when they entered, but he opened them at the sound of their footsteps. "So you're still here," he said to Selina, his voice weak but clear. "Yes, sir," she replied nervously. Richard's gaze shifted to his son. "You really do care for her, don't you?" Dominic stood tall. "I do, Father, very much." Richard closed his eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. "When you face death," he said slowly, "you start to see things differently. What matters? What doesn't?" He looked at Eleanor. "We've made mistakes, you and I. Put the family name, the business, above everything else, including our son's happiness." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Richard, don't tax yourself. We can discuss this when you're stronger." "No," Richard insisted. "It needs to be said now. In case—" He didn't finish the thought. He turned back to Dominic. "I may not understand your choices, son, but I don't want to leave this world at odds with you." Dominic moved closer to the bed, taking his father's hand. "You're not going anywhere, Father. You're going to fight this." Richard nodded weakly. "Yes, I'll fight, but on one condition." "Anything," Dominic promised. Richard's eyes found Selina again. "That you bring her to family dinner every Sunday, so we can get to know the woman who's captured my stubborn son's heart." The room went still with shock. Even the monitors seemed to pause. "Father?" Dominic questioned, not sure he'd heard correctly. "Life is too short for feuds," Richard said simply. "And if she means that much to you, then she should have a place at our table." Eleanor looked stunned. "Richard, you can't be serious." "Never been more serious," he replied. Then, to everyone's amazement, he attempted a small smile. "Besides, anyone who can stand up to you, my dear, must be worth knowing." The tension in the room broke as James let out a surprised laugh. Dominic squeezed his father's hand, too moved to speak. Selina stepped forward hesitantly. "Thank you, Mr. Grayson." "Richard," he corrected, "if you're going to be part of this family, you might as well use my name." Part of this family. The words hung in the air. a tentative bridge across the chasm that had seemed so uncrossable just days ago. Eleanor dabbed at her eyes, then straightened her shoulders. "Well," she said briskly, "if that's settled, you need to rest, Richard." The doctor was very clear about that. As they filed out of the room, Richard called after Dominic. "Son, one more thing." Dominic turned back. "Yes, father?" "Don't make the same mistakes I did," Richard said quietly. "Don't put anything above the people you love. Not money, not business, not even the Grayson name." "I won't," Dominic promised. Outside in the hallway, Eleanor approached Selina while Dominic spoke with the doctors. "This doesn't mean I approve," she said stiffly, "but for Richard's sake, and for Dominic's, I'm willing to try." It wasn't exactly a warm welcome, but coming from Eleanor Grayson, it was practically a hug. "That's all I ask," Selina replied. When Dominic rejoined them, his expression was lighter than it had been in days. "The doctor says father's vitals are improving. They're cautiously optimistic." He pulled Selina aside as Eleanor went to call relatives with the news. "Did that really just happen? Did my father actually invite you to family dinner?" "I think he did," Selina said, still processing it herself. "And my mother didn't object. Much." "It's a start," Selina agreed. Dominic looked at her with wonder. "You know what this means, don't you? We have a chance. A real chance." As he pulled her into his arms, Selina allowed herself to believe it might be true. There would still be obstacles, still be people who whispered and judged. But for the first time, the future seemed possible. "I love you," Dominic whispered against her hair. "I know it's soon, but I do." Selina pulled back to look into his eyes. "I love you too." Just then, alarms began blaring from Richard's room. Medical staff rushed in as an automated voice announced a code blue. "Father!" Dominic cried, moving toward the door only to be held back by nurses. "Please, sir, you need to let the doctors work," one said firmly. Eleanor appeared, her face white with terror. "What's happening?" "His heart," a nurse explained quickly. "It stopped." The world seemed to slow down as they watched through the glass window, helpless as the medical team worked frantically to revive Richard Grayson. In that moment of crisis, all the divisions fell away. Eleanor clutched Dominic's arm, while James paced anxiously. And Selina stood beside them all, praying for a miracle for the man who had, in perhaps his final act, tried to heal his family. Through the window, they saw the flat line on the monitor suddenly jump. "We have a pulse," a doctor announced. Relief flooded the hallway. Eleanor sagged against Dominic, who held his mother as she wept. James stopped pacing, closing his eyes in silent thanks. And Selina stood witness to it all, wondering what this would mean for their future, hers and Dominic's, and whether Richard's near-death revelation would last beyond the crisis. Only time would tell if the walls between their worlds had truly begun to crumble, or if they had simply been temporarily breached by the shadow of mortality. But for now, in this moment, there was hope. 3 weeks after Richard Grayson's second heart attack, the doctor finally signed his release papers. His recovery had been slow but steady, and everyone was relieved when he was cleared to return home, with strict instructions to rest and avoid stress. "I'm not an invalid," Richard grumbled as he was wheeled out of the hospital. Eleanor walked beside him, her hand resting protectively on his shoulder. "You will follow the doctor's orders," she insisted. "No work for at least a month." Dominic and Selina followed behind them, exchanging amused glances at Richard's complaints. In the weeks since his near-death experience, a fragile peace had settled over the Grayson family. Richard's brush with mortality had changed him, softened some of his harder edges. Eleanor was still Eleanor, proud and protective of her family's status, but she had stopped openly opposing Dominic and Selina's relationship. As for Selina, she had spent the past weeks finding her footing in this new reality. She had accepted Dominic's offer to run the music program at his company's community center, and the work filled her with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. Teaching children to play the piano, watching their faces light up when they mastered a simple melody, it brought back the joy music had once given her. She and Dominic had fallen into a comfortable rhythm, spending evenings at his city apartment, getting to know each other beyond the intensity of their first dramatic days together. And though Selina still felt awkward around the Graysons, she had kept her promise to visit Richard in the hospital regularly. Now, as they helped settle Richard back at the estate, Selina found herself marveling at how much had changed in such a short time. "Selina," Richard called, gesturing her over as he was settled into a recliner in the study. "Play something for me, would you? I've been listening to hospital machines beeping for weeks. I need real music." Eleanor frowned. "Richard, you should rest." "Music is restful," he countered, "and I want to hear Selina play. Dominic says she's quite talented." Selina glanced at Dominic, who nodded encouragingly. She moved to the grand piano in the corner of the study, the same one she had been polishing when Dominic first heard her play. Her fingers found the keys easily, and she began a gentle melody, something her grandmother had taught her, a piece that always brought her comfort. The room fell silent except for the music, and when she finished, she looked up to find Richard watching her with undisguised appreciation. "Beautiful," he said simply. "You have a gift." "Thank you," Selina replied, still not entirely comfortable with compliments from the Grayson patriarch. "How's the community center coming along?" Richard asked Dominic. "We open next week," Dominic answered. "Selina's already got a waiting list for her music classes." Richard nodded approvingly. "Good, very good." He turned to Eleanor. "We should make a donation, my dear, support Dominic's project." Eleanor's eyebrows rose in surprise. "I thought you considered his company a betrayal of Grayson Industries." "I was wrong," Richard admitted, the words clearly difficult for him. "Our son has built something impressive. It's time we acknowledge that." Dominic looked stunned. "Father, you don't have to—" "I want to," Richard interrupted. "Consider it my way of making amends." The moment was interrupted by James entering the study. "Welcome home, Father." He nodded politely to Selina, their relationship still awkward but civil. "James," Richard greeted him, "just in time. I want to talk to all of you about some changes I've been considering." Eleanor immediately looked concerned. "Richard, the doctor said no business discussions." "This isn't about business, it's about family." Richard's expression grew serious. "My heart stopping twice has given me perspective. I've spent my life building an empire, but I nearly left this world without repairing what matters most." He looked at his sons. "I've been hard on both of you, expected you to be extensions of myself rather than your own men. That ends today." James shifted uncomfortably. "Father, you don't need to." "I do," Richard insisted. "Dominic, I was wrong to resent your independence. And James, I've enabled your worst tendencies by never holding you accountable." The room fell silent as the Grayson men stared at each other, decades of complicated emotions hanging in the air. Finally, Dominic spoke. "Thank you, Father." "That means a lot." James looked less certain, but he nodded. "I'm trying to do better." "I know you are," Richard said. Then, to everyone's surprise, he turned to Selina. "And you, young lady, you've shown more integrity than most people I've met in business. My son is lucky to have found you." Selina felt her cheeks warm. "Thank you, Mr. Grayson." "Richard," Eleanor cleared her throat. "I think that's enough excitement for one day. Richard needs to rest." As they filed out of the study, Dominic pulled Selina aside. "That was unexpected." "Your father's changed," Selina observed. "Near-death experiences have that effect," Dominic agreed. "But I never thought I'd hear him admit he was wrong about anything." Selina smiled. "People can surprise you." "Speaking of surprises," Dominic said, checking his watch, "I have one for you. Can you get away for the afternoon?" Selina raised an eyebrow. "What are you planning?" "You'll see," he said with a mysterious smile. "Just say yes." An hour later, they were driving along the coast, away from the city. Selina watched the scenery change from urban buildings to small towns to open countryside. "Are you going to tell me where we're going?" she asked. "Patience," Dominic replied, clearly enjoying her curiosity. "We're almost there." Finally, he turned onto a private road that wound through trees before opening onto a spectacular view of the ocean. There, on a bluff overlooking the water, was a house. Not a mansion like the Grayson estate, but a beautiful, welcoming home with wide windows and a wraparound porch. "What is this place?" Selina asked as Dominic parked in the driveway. "Do you remember that sketch I showed you at the ball?" he asked. "Of the house I wanted to build." Selina's eyes widened. "This is it? But how, when—" "I bought the property years ago," Dominic explained. "Started building about 6 months back, but the design never felt quite right. Then I met you, and suddenly I knew what was missing." He led her up the steps to the front door, which he unlocked with a key before handing it to her. "Take a look inside." Selina entered hesitantly, gasping as she stepped into a sun-filled living room with soaring ceilings and a wall of windows facing the ocean. But what truly took her breath away was the baby grand piano positioned perfectly to capture the view. "Dominic," she whispered, moving toward it as if drawn by a magnet. "I had it delivered yesterday," he said, watching her reaction. "The house isn't completely finished yet, but I wanted you to see it, to see if it feels like home," she finished for him, running her fingers lightly over the piano keys. Yes. He came to stand beside her. I'm not asking you to move in. Not yet. But someday when you're ready, I hope this could be our place. Away from my family, away from expectations. Just us. Selina turned to face him, overwhelmed by the gesture. You did all this for me? For us, he corrected. I've spent my whole life trying to escape my father's shadow, build something that was mine, but it never felt complete until I met you. He took her hands in his. I know it's only been a few weeks. I know we're still getting to know each other, but I've never been more certain of anything than I am of how I feel about you. Selina felt tears threatening. I love you, Dominic. But this is so much. Too much, he asked, suddenly worried. No, she assured him. Just overwhelming. In the best way. Relief washed over his face. There's no pressure, no timeline. I just wanted you to see it, to know that I'm serious about our future. Selina looked around at the beautiful space, trying to imagine herself living there, waking up to that view every morning, playing the piano as the sun set over the ocean. It was more than she had ever dared to dream for herself. Show me the rest, she said, taking his hand. They spent the afternoon exploring every room, Dominic explaining his plans for each space, asking for her input. In the kitchen, he surprised her with a picnic lunch that they took out onto the porch. As they sat looking out at the ocean, Selina felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in years. It's perfect, Dominic. Truly perfect. There's just one thing missing, he said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box. Selina's heart skipped. Dominic, before you panic, he said quickly. I'm not proposing. Not exactly. He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver ring, set with a single sapphire. This was my grandmother's. The only woman in the family who married for love rather than status. She called it her promise ring. He took the ring out, but didn't move to put it on her finger. This is a promise, Selina, that no matter what happens, no matter what obstacles we face, I'm committed to building a life with you. When you're ready, whether that's months from now or years, I'll replace it with an engagement ring, but only when we're both ready. Tears spilled down Selina's cheeks. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Dominic assured her. You can think about it. There's no rush. But Selina had already made up her mind. She held out her hand. I don't need to think about it. I believe in us, Dominic, in what we're building together. His face lit up as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if it had been made for her. I love you, Selina Brooks. I love you too, she whispered, leaning in to kiss him. The community center's grand opening was a success beyond anyone's expectations. Children from the neighborhood filled the classrooms, eager to try instruments many had never touched before. Selina moved among them, her heart full as she helped small hands find the right piano keys. Dominic watched her from the doorway, pride evident in his expression. This project had been important to him before, but seeing Selina in her element, sharing her passion with these children, made it mean so much more. He was so engrossed in watching her that he didn't notice his mother arrive until she spoke beside him. She's quite good with them, Eleanor observed. Dominic turned in surprise. Mother, I didn't expect you to come. Your father insisted, Eleanor said. He's in the main hall with James, admiring your handiwork. Dominic studied his mother, trying to read her expression. And what do you think? Eleanor looked around the bright classroom. It's impressive what you've built here. Not what I would have chosen for a Grayson, but worthy. Coming from Eleanor, it was high praise indeed. Her gaze fell on Selina's hand as she helped a little girl position her fingers on the keyboard. The sapphire ring caught the light. I see you gave her your grandmother's ring, Eleanor said quietly. Dominic tensed, prepared for an argument. Yes. To his surprise, Eleanor simply nodded. She would have approved. Your grandmother, I mean. She always said the Graysons needed fresh blood. Before Dominic could respond to this unexpected acceptance, Selina noticed them and came over, slightly nervous at finding Eleanor there. Mrs. Grayson, welcome to the center, she said politely. Eleanor, please, Dominic's mother corrected her. After all, you're wearing our family ring now. Selina glanced at Dominic, who looked as shocked as she felt. Thank you, Eleanor, Selina managed. An awkward silence fell, broken when one of the children called for Selina's help. Excuse me, she said, grateful for the escape. Once she was out of earshot, Dominic turned to his mother. All right, who are you and what have you done with Eleanor Grayson? A hint of a smile touched Eleanor's lips. Your father isn't the only one who's been doing some reflecting. I watched you both these past weeks. How you are together. How she stood by you during the worst of your father's illness, even after how we treated her. She smoothed an invisible wrinkle from her designer suit. "I still think you're from different worlds. There will be challenges. Society can be cruel." "I don't care about society," Dominic said firmly. "I know," Eleanor replied. "That's always been your strength and your weakness." She looked towards Selina, who was patiently guiding a young boy's hands on the piano. "But perhaps in this case you're right to follow your heart." It wasn't a wholehearted blessing, but coming from Eleanor Grayson, it was revolutionary. "Thank you, Mother," Dominic said sincerely. Eleanor straightened her shoulders. "Don't make too much of it. I'm simply being practical. Your father has made it clear he expects Selina at Sunday dinners from now on, and I'd rather not spend my remaining years in constant conflict." With that, she moved off to join her husband, leaving Dominic shaking his head in amazement at how much had changed. 6 months later, the Grayson family gathered at Dominic and Selina's coastal home for Sunday dinner. It had become a new tradition, alternating between the estate and the house by the sea. Richard, fully recovered and looking healthier than he had in years, was engaged in a spirited chess match with James on the porch. Eleanor was in the kitchen with Selina, the two women having reached an understanding that occasionally even resembled friendship. "You need more salt in this sauce," Eleanor advised, dipping a spoon into the pot Selina was stirring. "I was going to add it at the end," Selina replied, but she reached for the salt anyway. She had learned to pick her battles with Eleanor. From the living room came the sound of piano music. Dominic was playing a simple tune, one Selina had been teaching him. His progress was slow but determined, much like the growth of their relationship. Eleanor listened, her expression softening. "He never showed any interest in music as a child. I tried to get him lessons, but he refused." "Some things you have to discover in your own time," Selina said. Eleanor gave her an appraising look. "You've been good for him, for all of us in a way." Before Selina could respond to this unprecedented admission, the doorbell rang. "That'll be Rebecca and her new boyfriend," Selina said, wiping her hands on a towel. "Would you mind watching the sauce while I get the door?" "Of course," Eleanor said, taking the spoon from her. Selina went to answer the door, smiling as she welcomed Rebecca and her date. She led them to the living room where Dominic greeted them warmly before returning to his halting piano practice. As the house filled with conversation and laughter, Selina took a moment to herself, stepping out onto the porch where Richard and James were still absorbed in their chess game. The sun was setting over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. 6 months ago, she had been a maid, invisible to the world of people like the Graysons. Now here she was, hosting them in her home, her and Dominic's home. There were still challenges, of course. There were still people at social events who whispered when she entered a room. There were still moments when the differences in their backgrounds became apparent, but none of it seemed to matter when she was with Dominic, building their life together day by day. "Beautiful sunset," Richard commented, noticing her watching the horizon. "Yes, it is," she agreed. Richard made a move on the chessboard, then looked up at her. "You know, when Dominic first brought you to that ball, I thought it was just another act of rebellion, a way to get under my skin." "It was, a little," Selina admitted with a smile. Richard chuckled. "Yes, but it became something more, something real." He gestured around them, at the house, at the family gathered inside. "All this, it's because you had the courage to walk into a room where everyone thought you didn't belong." James nodded in agreement. "You changed us, Selina, for the better." She was saved from having to respond to these unexpected compliments by Dominic appearing at the door. "Dinner's almost ready," he announced. "Father, are you winning?" "Of course," Richard replied, though a glance at the board suggested otherwise. As James and Richard packed up their game, Dominic joined Selina at the railing, slipping an arm around her waist. "Everything okay?" he asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. "More than okay," she assured him, leaning into his embrace. "I was just thinking about how much has changed since that night at the ball." Dominic smiled. "The night you walked in and changed everything." "I was terrified," she admitted. "All those people staring, judging." "You didn't show it," he said. "You held your head high and walked in like you belonged. That's when I knew for sure." "Knew what?" "That I was falling in love with you," he said simply. "That you were the one I wanted to build a life with." Inside, Eleanor called everyone to dinner. Dominic took Selina's hand, the sapphire ring catching the last rays of sunlight. "Shall we?" he asked. Selina nodded, following him inside to where their family waited, because that's what the Graysons had become against all odds. Her family too. As they gathered around the table, Dominic raised his glass. "A toast," he proposed, "to new beginnings, to taking chances. And to Selina, who had the courage to walk in and change all our lives." "To Selina," everyone echoed. even Eleanor. Selina felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the wine and everything to do with belonging. She had found her place, not by pretending to be someone she wasn't, but by having the courage to be exactly who she was. As she looked around at the faces of the people who had become her family, she thought of her grandmother, who had taught her to play piano and to hold her head high no matter what. She would have been proud of the woman Selina had become. Later that night, after everyone had gone and they were cleaning up together, Dominic pulled Selina into his arms for a slow dance in the kitchen, humming the melody she'd been teaching him. "What do you think about making it official?" he asked, his voice soft against her hair. "What do you mean?" she asked, though she had a feeling she knew. He pulled back to look into her eyes. "Replacing that promise ring with an engagement ring. Making this, us, permanent." Selina's heart swelled. 6 months ago the idea would have terrified her. Now it felt like the most natural thing in the world. "Yes," she said simply. "I'd like that very much." Dominic's face lit up with joy. "Really? You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything," she assured him. "You showed me what life could be like. Not by changing me, but by seeing me, really seeing me, when I walked in." He kissed her then, a kiss full of promise and plans, and a future neither of them could have imagined when they first met. Outside, the waves crashed against the shore, a rhythm as steady and constant as their love had become. And inside the home they had built together, Selina Brooks, soon to be Selina Grayson, knew she had finally found where she belonged. Not as a maid, not as an outsider, but as a woman who had the courage to walk into a room where no one expected her and change everything. The end.